Hi, welcome to HTML as a second language. We're going to cover all the basics of HTML in this course so you feel comfortable and confident updating your own websites. That's the goal. You'll be even more employable than you already are, and you'll know more about the digital world around you. As a side bonus, we're going for both a solid foundation in all the tags you'll need to make things like links, images, videos, and fancy embeds, but also a little bit of the grammar and syntax involved in learning HTML as a complete language. Learning the theory behind it helps you learn faster, and it also helps you avoid mistakes. We'll use the metaphor of a language where both the vocabulary and the grammar are important elements. That way we avoid any communication missteps with the computer. See, computers are really smart, but they're also really dumb in a way. They're literal to a fault. So I could go to France and not know a lick of French and kind of make by with a couple key vocabulary words. I could say, "Excuse me, bathroom, please, sir." And even though my sentence doesn't make a lot of sense, the French person will still roll their eyes and they'll say, "The bathroom is that way, stupid American." They'll understand the concepts. But computers aren't like that. They're very specific. So it's not just important that what we're saying is correct, but also the way we're saying it. Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've broken an entire website just because I missed a stupid end quote mark or an angle bracket somewhere. So by learning the grammar and being really consistent with our punctuation, we can avoid a lot of mistakes. A bit about me first. My name's Mel. I'm a graphic designer. I've been making websites since the mid-90s. I've been a professional web developer in the Bay Area for the past 4 years. Before that, I taught web design and graphic design to high schoolers and kids at universities. I'm confident that you can learn this material. It doesn't matter what your previous tech experience is, as long as you come at this with some time to devote to it and a willingness to learn. I do believe this is learnable. Alright, so I'll be your teacher. You ready to get started? The first thing we have to do is wrap our brains around what is HTML really. It's kind of an abstract concept. I'm sure you have some idea because you're here. But let's flesh it out a bit so we have a good understanding between us. The first thing to figure out is, how does the internet work? So you have a person at your computer and you're a website maker. You write this code and it communicates to your computer, which goes along some cables. Maybe there's a wireless connection somewhere. Through your phone lines or through your cable lines, it makes its way to a server, and that's your web host. That's whoever you're paying a monthly fee to store all of your website files. So your text file goes there, it lives at the server. The server is just basically a computer that's always on and that has access for other computers to download files from it whenever they want. So we're talking specifically about web servers. Of course, there's other kinds too. So that web server is just holding your files for you there. It's broadcasting them in a way. Someone comes and visits your site. They type in your domain name.com. That request goes through all of their cables and wires and wireless connections, finds your server, and then it requests to download those files, and it does. Now when it gets to their computer, a whole other thing happens. And this information, it has to travel thousands of miles in just seconds. So it's really important that they're tiny, tiny files. And the smallest, most efficient way we found to do that is to use text files. So even though websites these days are mostly visual things, we still use text code to describe to the computer how to display that visual information. HTML is just one of these text-based codes. There's other ones too. Things like JavaScript helps us do interactive fancy stuff. Things like CSS helps us do the style and how we want the content to look. But by far and away, HTML is the most popular content um, code for the internet. If you only had to learn one internet code, I would say learn HTML. So we have this document. If you view the source of a website, you can see what that actual file looks like. And it might be confusing at first, but don't be scared. We'll pick this all apart and do one little piece at a time. But as we're looking at the source of a website, humans don't know how to understand this unless you haven't had special training. But that's exactly what browsers' jobs are to do. They take all of this jumble of text codes and make it into something meaningful, into a visual that humans like and can understand. So that's the browser's job. Things like Chrome or Safari or Internet Explorer, they're the web browsers, and it's their job to interpret this code and present it as something visual. So it's like a window that you see through. So some of the text in this code, it goes straight to the finished website. But lots of it's just messages for the browser, which is not shown to the human eye at all. So imagine a link. All the user sees is the underlined click here bit. But the destination address has to be hidden somewhere, right? Otherwise, how would the computer know where to send you when you click on that link? The bottom line is that even the most sophisticated websites, they're communicated only in text commands. So when we view the source of the website, we can see the code behind the browser's rendering. So all of this stuff here in angle brackets, they're invisible notes that are just sent just to the browser, telling it how to display our content. That is HTML. Like I said, it's not the only website language out there, but it does represent the vast majority of the content. It is by far the most popular. If we're trying to figure out what a particular code is behind a particular element on the website, so say we want to figure out what that link is going to go to, for example, we can inspect the element by right-clicking it, or if you're on a Mac, you can control-click. I'll be using Chrome, which is a free browser, and it has lots of features like this inspect element one that lets you kind of look under the hood of a website. So it's really helpful as a developer to have, I think, Chrome. If you don't have it already, it's a free download. Just go to chrome.com and grab it. So let's look at that link we mentioned earlier. If I inspect it, I can see that it's made with this funky code. We'll go into the link tags more specifically later, but for now let's just look at kind of the anatomy of it. So there's some stuff in angle brackets, and then the link text itself, the click here part, is not. Everything inside the angle brackets is just for the browser. Everything not in the angle brackets shows up as text on the site. So far so good? Great. The whole thing altogether is called a tag. The equivalent in language would be like a sentence. You'll notice every tag both opens and closes. This is crucial. Some tags close themselves, as we'll see later with images, but they all must have some kind of backslash which tells the browser this link or image or whatever is done. It's kind of like the period at the end of a sentence. You can and often will nest tags inside each other, so it's really important to keep track of which opening tags go with which closing tags. And they're not color-coded or anything like that. It'd be great if they were, but they're not, so we just have to pay extra careful attention to that. Well, we'll do more on that later. Now, inside each tag, you can have lots of attributes. And these are like phrases with both a noun and an adjective paired together. They give the browser additional information about that tag. So here's an example. Ahrefs equals url.com, target equals blank, and then the link text, and then we close the A tag. The target, it tells the browser where the link should open. We have a lot of options. It could pop up in a new window or tab, or it could open in the same window that you're already in. So in this case, it's called blank or self. We went ahead and did blank. That'll open our link in a new tab. Now, you might notice that the href equals url.com follows the same syntax of the target equals blank. You might guess that this is an attribute too, and you'd be correct. Anything of that syntax where you have color equal sign blue is an attribute. In HTML, it's always shown with an equal sign and then double quotes. That's how you know it's an attribute. So that's what a tag is comprised of, the anatomy behind a tag. The whole thing lives in angle brackets. You open the tag, you close the tag. Inside the tag can be attributes. And that just gives the browser more information. Most of them are optional. Some of them, like the link location, the href tag, is required. And we'll learn more about the vocabulary and the tag options a little bit later in the course. But there's one more thing I wanted to cover before we get started in earnest. Remember how we said everything inside the angle brackets is invisible to the human visitors of your site? Well, we can use that to our advantage, and that's called comments. Basically, it's a way to leave yourself a note right inside the code. You wrap it in the angle brackets, and then the browser ignores it, and the humans can't see it. It's only for you, the code author, and any other code authors you might be collaborating with. So here's the convention for the syntax for that. You open the angle bracket, exclamation point, and then your comment goes there after 2 dashes. When you're done with the comment, you do 2 more dashes and close the angle bracket. We use the exclamation point and 2 dashes to tell the computer it can ignore this command too. And then the last 2 dashes in the closing angle bracket tell the computer our comment is done. This can be useful not only to leave yourself reminders in the code, but also to comment out areas of the website you want to hide but not remove forever. Just wrap that section of the website that you want to hide in between the exclamation point, angle bracket, dash dash, and the dash dash angle bracket, and it'll be hidden. Just be careful you grab the entire section so you don't split apart a tag's opening and closing sections. Leaving the opening section visible and the other one closed is a recipe for disaster. The easiest way to avoid this is to just count them and make sure for every open P there is a closed P, for example. Anything that has a tag should have a backslash that same tag, or it should close inside itself. Alright, so that's enough theory. Are you ready to get your hands in some code? Awesome. First, we've got to find it though. It's not always obvious how to access the HTML backend of your site and actually edit it. And that's for important security reasons. You'll need to log in. You got to ask the person who built your site what the login credentials are and the best way to get access. So that's your homework before starting the next unit with us, is to get access to the backend of your site. There's basically 2 possibilities. You can use FTP to go right to the server, or you can use a CMS to give you access through a web browser. Again, you got to ask whoever built your site which one yours uses. Every site's different. You can use a tool called whatcms.org if you're not sure and you want some help puzzling that out. Alright, so FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol, and it's a way to log into the server through an application. So you can see where your HTML and other website files are stored. There are many free FTP clients for both Windows and Mac users. I'll use Fetch, but you can use whatever you like. Go ahead and download one. Once you log in, you'll need the credentials. But once you're there, you can download the .html files and edit them on your computer. They're just regular text files. You use a regular text editor. When you're done, you save it and re-upload. Refresh the website and you'll see the changes you made. Just rinse, repeat, keep going. You make a little change, you refresh it, check it on the website. Make a little change, you get the idea. Now there are shortcuts that let you edit the files more or less directly on the server, but make sure whatever way you're editing the files, you make a backup. The easiest way to do this is just to drag the files onto your own local computer and make a copy before you change anything. That way, if you do break it, you can always revert safely back to the old version. So that's FTP. CMS stands for Content Management Systems. Of these, WordPress is the most common, so I'll use it as an example. For WordPress, you log in at yoururl.com/wp-admin. This is where you put in the username and password given to you by the awesome professional who built the site in the first place. Once you've logged in, simply pick the page or post you want to edit, and make sure you click on over to the text view. That's where you see the HTML and not the Visual Composer. If you don't have a website yet, don't fret. It's easy to practice HTML and learn it, and you don't need any special software. All you need is a text editor and a web browser, and chances are, if you have a computer, you already have those things. So depending on if you're on a Mac or a PC, you can open TextEdit or Notepad. If you want to get really fancy, you can download a free HTML editing program too. I like to use HyperEdit. Really, they're the exact same thing though. The only difference with the HTML programs is they might change everything inside the angle brackets to be different colors to help you see them. But once you're there inside your text editor, you want to make sure you're not in rich text mode. You want the most boring text file possible with no formatting, so there shouldn't be any colorful text, nothing like that. You can often do this under Format and make sure you're not in rich text mode. Then that's the trickiest part. You just put your code in there, type it just like a regular text file, and when you're done, save it as with the .html extension. Obviously that lets your computer know it's an HTML file. Then, when you right-click that file, you can open with a web browser like Chrome or Firefox or Explorer, and it'll show it to you as a website. When you want to edit it again, you just open it. You can open with a text editor, save your changes, and then refresh the website window. It won't be as fancy as learning on a live site, but in many ways I think it's the best way you can learn. You can copy and paste this code as a starter template. You just open the HTML tag, open a body tag. All the content goes inside the body, and then you close both your body and HTML tags. So we'll start from there next time if you don't have a website that's already online you can practice with. Okay, so do you have your HTML files open, either in a test hidden page on your actual live website or locally on your own computer with a text editor program? If so, we're ready to rock and roll. Move on to the next video for some simple text commands and your very first text.